All right, this is a first here on Jonesing for Football. This is something we're going to call JFF After Dark. That's right. As we record this late on a Friday night after a Cowboys victory at the Meadowlands over the division rival New York Football Giants, the Cowboys have righted the ship and are ready to set sail on another championship season. Welcome to Jonesing for Football. Bill Jones here in Dallas and Young Cody Winstead in Philadelphia. But 24 hours ago, he was a witness to the wreckage there at what was once Giant Stadium, now MetLife Stadium. Hello, how you doing, Young Cody?
Mr. Jones, great to be with you as always. We had to do a late night Friday show because it's not often we get to do like Cowboys post-game analysis, but we had to take advantage of the rare Thursday game. So here we are with lots to say about the Cowboys' narrow victory over the vaunted Giants.
That's right, and who are now sitting squarely in the cellar of the NFC East. That was what was at stake on Thursday night. And the Cowboys prevail. I've had a busy day today. We had a taping of the Mike McCarthy show at the Star in Frisco at 11 o'clock this morning, and some other segments for the show. A show you'll be able to see on CBS Texas and across the DallasCowboys.com empire. And the coach was a little sleepy-eyed after the late night flight home, and I think the team arrived back in the Metroplex at 4:30 in the morning, and I don't think that he had gotten any sleep. And about that time, the team was learning some news about some injured players as well. And so when I could get him away from his cell phone where he was getting updates left and right, we taped a show.
Good for you, Bill Jones. I got home from East Rutherford at 2:30 in the morning. He got home a couple hours later, it sounds like. But we're both here. Happy to do a show with you and happy to talk to the Cowboys, Bill Jones.
Matter of fact, I took in some high school football tonight, and Coach McCarthy was headed to homecoming at Prestonwood Christian Academy in Plano. That's where his daughter goes to school, and he and his wife, Jessica, are going to be chaperones at the PCA homecoming dance on Saturday night. So that's how he's spending his Saturday night. And then he does plan to be in front of a television to watch the Steelers and the Colts on Sunday afternoon at noon Dallas time.
Great inside info right there, Bill Jones. How about that? You're slow dancing with your date at homecoming, and there's Mike McCarthy staring you down from the.
That's right.
All right. Want to talk some football? Let's get into it, Bill Jones, because we have a ton to discuss. The Cowboys 20-15 win over the Giants, like we mentioned. We'll talk about that, but also I just wanted to give you a little rundown of our rundown for the day. Obviously, we're going to start by talking Cowboys-Giants. We're going to do a little must-watch game of the week like we always do. We'll hit pressures on. I'm hitting the quarterback. Bill Jones gave me his answers before the show for the first time. Let's all clap for him for that. Thank you, Bill. He's also talking a quarterback. And we'll finish up with who you got. And I know everyone at home is wondering if I tied the season score in our last episode. And of course I did. So let's get into the Cowboys and Giants, Bill Jones, because I want your thought, your biggest takeaway from, I'll say it again, the narrow victory over those pesky Giants.
And so I just wanted to prove to you that I am not just winging it when I am telling you what my game of the week is and who the pressure's on. I actually do give a little bit of thought in advance. And so that's the only reason why I gave you a cheat sheet so that you could be well prepared for this late night edition of Jonesing for Football. Hey, it was a great win against a division rival and a game that you had to win. There's nothing that will test the mettle of a football team like having to go on the road and win on a Thursday night, especially after a showing that the Cowboys had against the Ravens last Sunday, and where this season was on the brink of a September collapse. If they fell to 1-3, can you imagine what it would be like? And especially when you look at their schedule ahead. And so, in fact, Coach McCarthy asked me, so what's the narrative out there after last night's game? And I was like, oh, sky's still falling. And
Yep.
but in my opinion, they did exactly what they needed to do. And don't compare. There's no. This isn't a beauty pageant. Let's just get the W and move on to the next game.
My take, Bill Jones, is two things. I'll start here. The Giants aren't the worst team in the league, but they're really close. They're pretty close, if you ask me. That's my take on the Giants, but I'll give you my take on the Cowboys. They're not a good football team, Bill Jones. I think that was my biggest takeaway from being at the game last night, which I expected when the season started. As you know, I had the Cowboys missing the playoffs. I actually had the Commanders in, the Cowboys out, and we'll see how those end up playing out. But right now, I feel pretty good about those picks. Dallas has some good players, but just not enough, and definitely not enough depth. And the worst part is the depth is going to be tested going forward, Bill Jones. DeMarcus Lawrence out for at least a month, foot. We know nothing is official on Micah Parsons, but I was in the locker room after the game. I followed him out of the locker room after the game.
You stalked him.
He couldn't walk to the bus, Bill Jones. He had to have a golf cart take him to the bus. He had no shoe on his foot. I highly doubt he's playing against the Steelers with that high ankle sprain. We already know Sam Williams is out for the year. Jordan Phillips is on IR. Same for Deron Bland, who I guess is supposed to come back soon. The one thing we know this team couldn't handle was injuries, and they've had some significant ones early in the year. So that's bad news. I'll just give you my overall take, and then I'll let you.
Yeah, because you got to watch them up close and personal. You were able to focus in, hone in on the weaknesses on this Cowboys team last night. And by the way, I will say that I don't know how many good teams there are in the league right now. It remains to be seen because you look around the league and there's a lot of teams that are going through some of the same things the Cowboys are right now. And it's kind of a week-to-week proposition around the league. But I do think you are making a extremely fair account. You have an extremely fair account of where this team is. And it was my concern, even going back to the start of training camp, that there would not be enough depth on this football team. So take it away. What do you got?
I said it in the preseason, and I still believe it. The Cowboys are an 8 or 9 win team, especially when you look at their next 7. Bill Jones, I know you know the schedule. It's Pittsburgh, Detroit, San Francisco, Atlanta, Philly, Houston, Washington. Dallas will be lucky to win 3 of those games during that 7-game stretch.
So that would put them at 5-6.
I say 4-7, Bill Jones.
Okay.
Now, you also have to admit their last 6 games are pretty easy. Giants, Bengals, Panthers, Bucks, Eagles, Commanders. So
6 wins.
Well, but I mean, of course not. Maybe 4 if you're lucky. When you add all that up, I think you're looking at an 8-9 season for your Dallas Cowboys and missing the postseason.
You know what Jerry Jones is thinking? Because he said this after the Deron Bland injury, is that it's good news. It's good news because he's not lost for the season. We're getting him back. Okay.
Yes, right.
And I bet you he's saying the same thing about DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons. This is good news. This is good news because we're going to get them back for our stretch run. The problem is the next 7 games, they could be totally out of it by Thanksgiving.
That's a great point. And Jerry's probably thought that in years past, but they actually had more depth in years past. Like they could handle Trayvon Diggs' injury last year because they had Stephon Gilmore and they had Bland. They don't have near the depth that they've had in the last couple of years.
They have Amani Oruwariye. Did you not see Amani Oruwariye with the game-sealing pick last night?
I was on the field when he made the game-saving pick. Yes, I saw that.
What did you say? Did you say Amani Oruwariye just had a pick? Not to be confused with Noah Igbenogany? who used
No.
to play for this team, but is now
Yeah.
a Washington Commander.
Oh, two completely different players. No, I did not say that. I said the game's over and the Cowboys win, which I was happy about. Yeah, I just overall, I just don't think Dallas is good enough. I'm especially in the division. I think Philly is better. I think Washington will prove out to be better.
I want
And for
I
Dallas.
want to get your take. I want to get your take on the rookie offensive lineman.
Which one?
Let's go with Tyler Guyton.
Okay, well, I'm just looking at the stats right here. He's been flagged 5 times with offensive holding calls in 4 games. So that's not a great start. He also has a false start. So yeah, I would say not great, which who could have seen that coming? I mean, he's a rookie left tackle. I'm wondering, we got to the point, Bill Jones, we always talked about, should Tyler Smith potentially play left tackle? Are we at that point? Or is that even in the mix for some
Well,
time?
there are some here who are wondering, okay, and this is, we'll see what Tyler Guyton does in his career, okay? But
Yep.
he was, I think you could describe as a project coming in, but they needed him to start right away.
Yep.
So, but to your point, you could have even at the draft decided, okay, Tyler Smith, you're kicking out to left tackle. You've played it before. Let's take the best player available. And if that's Tyler Guyton, fine. If it's someone else, better. Then you can wait on the. See, my thing is, I wonder with so many offensive tackles that were taken before Tyler Guyton, where was the drop off? And Kansas City's going through the same thing right now with their rookie late second round draft pick out of BYU, where they tried starting him at left tackle, and then he's been benched in Wanye Morris, who also from Oklahoma is now your starting left tackle there in Kansas City. But,
Yep. Bill Jones, I want to ask you about this running back rotation.
Hunter Lipke.
Like, what is going on? How do you see this thing playing out? Like,
well,
now the plan?
Big picture over the first 4 games, the way the 2 middle games played out, where they fell behind by so much, you can't really get a good feel for what their strategy is as far as the run game goes, because when you fall behind by double digits in the second quarter of games, it's going to skew your stats where you just aren't going to be running the football in the second half. So any of the stats on the run game, you got to throw out. I thought in last night's game, you saw with Rico Dowdle and in fact with Zeke Elliott, where if the yards were there to get, they were getting what was there. They don't have the juice to take it the distance. They can't do a Saquon Barkley and go 65 yards for a touchdown or anything like that. And so it is a running back by committee. But just the way the games have played out, you haven't seen them dedicate themselves to running the ball. One thing that McCarthy told me today, one of the things they're dealing with on their offensive line, whether it's in pass protection or run blocking, is it's like we have put, as McCarthy put it, a blinking light on our offensive line, and what defensive coordinators are doing, they're throwing everything at them as far as stunts and so forth and trying to confuse those rookie offensive linemen. And they expected it coming into the season. And so that's some of the issues that they're working through, is because they're so young on the offensive line with their center, Cooper Beebe, who's making the line calls, and with Tyler Guyton at left tackle.
My take on the running back situation, because I was watching the game last night going, what is happening? And I don't always get to see from the perspective of the press box, where you're seeing who's coming in, who's going out, who's going in, then coming back out, which happened multiple times. Guys thought they were going in and then come back out. But to me, Rico has become running back 1. He's got the most carries for 3 straight games. He had a season high 11 attempts on Thursday, finished with 46 yards, 4.2 average. But I can't really figure out, like I said, what they're doing. For example, first drive of the third quarter, Rico rips off an 8-yard run. Next play, he rips off a 9-yard run. They pull him out. The drive stalls. He doesn't go back in on the drive. or he doesn't go in the drive following. And so I actually thought Rico had some juice yesterday, but they're too busy giving Zeke a drive or their newest running back, CeeDee Lamb, carries and snaps in the backfield. Like, is CeeDee Lamb getting 3 carries? Do we really think that's a good strategy? To me, if you're going to line up a wide receiver at running back, you could do that with Kevontae Turpin. Let CD play wide receiver, maybe a jet sweep here or there, but get Turpin on the field. This is, by the way, 2 times, 0 touches for Turpin, now twice in 4 games.
Are you done?
No, I'm not, but I would like you to respond and then I'll finish up.
Okay, you just cited specifically their first drive of the third quarter.
Yes.
Now, let me show you, let's review what actually happened on that drive. And it was the third play of the drive on a 1st and 10 at the 42-yard line. Dowdle went for 8 yards. From the 50-yard line on 2nd and 2, a 9-yard run. Okay, Zeke comes in. They flare a pass out to Zeke in the right flank, and they gain 5 yards. Positive play. Now it's 2nd and 5 at the 36-yard line. And on the next play, it's a pass to CD, got 4 yards. So now you're 3rd and 1 at the 32-yard line. Okay. They elected to pass and not run.
Mm-hmm.
It was incomplete, and it was a holding call on Tyler Guyton that pushed him back 10 yards. Now you're 3rd and 11 from the 42-yard line. So my question is, at what point in that sequence is Rico Dowdle running the football? It would have been on the 3rd and 1 play?
Well, I said that or the next drive. He didn't play the next drive either.
And on the next drive, Zeke, are you going to quibble with Zeke's 9-yard run on 1st down?
No, but Zeke is not running back 1.
But Zeke is just as good. Cody, Zeke is just as good as running back 1. He just can't, he doesn't have the tread on his tires that running back 1 has.
I don't think
it can work as a combination, just like teams across the league have been doing. Their problem has been on their offensive line. What happened on the Zeke 9-yard run? Well, there was a holding penalty on Tyler Smith on that one. Okay. I don't think it's an issue necessarily with the running backs themselves right now. The issue is with their offensive line.
Okay, but they're also trying to rotate in Deuce Vaughn, Hunter Lipke. It's like 5 or 6 guys are playing multiple, like double-digit snaps at running back. That's not a good plan. I don't know what the plan is, but that's not a good plan. That's not the plan.
You are exaggerating because those guys did not get, Deuce Vaughn did not get double digits.
You are right, Bill Jones. He did not get double-digit sacks. My point is, I'm looking here at snaps.
Zeke had 10 snaps in the game last night. 10. That's it.
Then he must have touched it almost every time he
he had 10 snaps,
which is wrong.
And Rico is at 25. Now, Hunter Lipke had 29 snaps, but he's not playing running back. He's playing fullback, H-back, tight end. He basically is their second tight end.
No, but he plays running back on some 3rd downs.
Right, exactly. And he, by the way, are you quibbling with him getting 6 yards on 4th and 1 and getting another 3 yards on 3rd and 1 to end the game?
I'm quibbling at throwing him the ball multiple times. Yes, I do have an issue with that.
And how many targets did he have?
He had 2 targets.
And how many catches?
2 catches.
2 catches. Hello?
I don't know. Let's just play.
This says a lot about this football
all the
team.
running backs instead of actually playing
Cody, this says a lot about this football team right now. Hunter Lipke is one of the best players on the team.
Well, I mean, I disagree, but I know what your point is. He's playing more snaps than Rico. Seems weird.
But he's not playing running back those snaps. Rico has the most snaps at running back.
Should not be on the field more than their running back 1. Period. End of
Well, you
story.
are in love with Rico Dowdle.
No, I just think like let a guy get the ball and get into a little rhythm, especially on a game when he looked like he actually had some juice. If he doesn't, then whatever, play whoever. I don't care. But it looked like he actually had some juice yesterday.
Okay, the president of the Rico Dowdle fan club will now move on to why we are here, getting you set for NFL Week 4.
Bill Jones, do you have a game of the week, a must-watch game of the week where normally you're on the Cowboys on Sundays, but you got a Sunday to yourself? So what are you going to be watching? What's on your DVR?
Yes, here we go. Here we go. Sunday Night Football. It's the Keon Coleman Show. It's the Buffalo Bills against the Baltimore Ravens. And what a matchup this will be. Hey, did you like Keon's touchdown on Monday night?
That's true. He's
Proving once again he's a prime time player. Even though the previous...
Didn't he have 0 catches in one of the games this year?
Wait. He not only had 0 catches, he had 0 targets.
Okay, let me check this because I went back afterwards. I think he had a target in every game, didn't he?
I don't think he had a target in that.
No, he did. He had 1 target in week
2 at Miami.
No catches, 1 target.
Okay, all right.
But a big game against.
But he did have 2 mouthpieces.
Right, of course. You're caught up on that. Big game against the Jags. 1 target, 1 catch, 1 touchdown.
That's 1,000%.
What a stud.
Okay, so how about this matchup? You got the best team in the league, Buffalo, right?
Yeah, sure.
Best offensive team in the league right now.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
Sure. I mean, I disagree. I'd say Kansas City is the best, but whatever. That's fine.
Best team in the league and playing against a Baltimore team that ran roughshod over the vaunted Dallas Cowboys last Sunday. But you got to love the quarterback matchup. It's Josh Allen. It's Lamar Jackson. I found this interesting. I went back and looked at the matchups between those 2 quarterbacks in their careers. And did you know this? Josh Allen's first game as a Buffalo Bill was at the Baltimore Ravens. You know what happened in that game?
I'm guessing it didn't turn out well for him.
Lamar Jackson and the Ravens won that game 47-3 over Buffalo. They then met again the following year in 2019, and it was a Baltimore win 24-17.
Okay.
Fast forward to 2020 divisional playoff. Buffalo wins 17-3 over Baltimore. Josh Allen wins that matchup. And then 2 years ago at Baltimore, week 4, just like this, it was a Buffalo 23-20 win. So they are 2-2 against each other in their career, with Josh Allen getting the most recent wins, including 2 years ago at Baltimore in week 4.
Good research there, Bill Jones. That actually equates with Josh Allen taking his mega step in his 3rd year. His first 2 years in the league, not pretty. We're talking like under 60% completion percentage. But year 3, something clicked and he turned into a mega star. And luckily for the Bills, that's where he remains today.
So this is the rubber game of their career matchup, Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen. Who do you think's going to win that one? I'll take Baltimore at home.
I was going to lean Baltimore too.
Yeah. Okay. That's my game of the week right there.
I like it. Yeah, I'm with you. I'd say Ravens. My must-watch game of the week is one I never thought I would be discussing as a must-watch game of the week in week 4. It's Minnesota at Green Bay, but here we are. The Vikes are 3-0. The Packers 2-1. In my opinion, the 2 biggest surprises in the league so far. When you consider no one picked Minnesota to do anything this year, especially after J.J. McCarthy got hurt in the preseason, and no one expected Green Bay to be 2-1 after losing Jordan Love in the opener. I want to get into the Vikes because I find them fascinating. Best resume in football, hands down, is the Minnesota Vikings. Didn't just beat the 49ers, controlled the game wire to wire, and They didn't just beat the Texans, they smacked them 34-7. So for those of you counting at home, Minnesota rolled 2 of the top 7 teams according to Super Bowl odds when the season started. That's the Niners and the Texans. What's amazing, I picked them last in the NFC North. I think almost everybody did. And although it's only been 3 weeks, I'm willing to consider I was wrong about the Vikings.
And let me tell you, for young Cody to admit that he is wrong on something, wow.
Hold on. Just to be clear, I'm not saying I'm wrong. I'm saying I'm considering that I might eventually be wrong. Okay, so I'm not saying I'm wrong yet. I said I might be wrong. The 2 keys for the Vikings offensively this season. Number 1 on offense, Sam Darnold has been great against the blitz, Bill Jones. Almost a perfect passer rating, 157.9. So he's made opponents pay when they've pressured the quarterback. On the other side of the ball, it's that Minnesota pass rush has gotten home 16 sacks to lead the league. Wild for a team that lost Danielle Hunter, who I hear is a future Hall of Famer. But his replacement, Jonathan Grenard, 4 sacks and 14 hurries in 3 games. So good stuff from him.
I must say that Jonathan Grenard was also featured prominently in the Big Green Notebook. We liked him, yes,
okay.
but we didn't like him as much as Danielle Hunter.
Yeah, no one. The Green Notebook hasn't liked anybody as much as they've liked Danielle Hunter. Will they be able to heat up Jordan Love, who is questionable with the knee injury, hasn't played since week 1, but I actually think he's going to give it a go. I'll be interested to see how close to 100% he is. Will his mobility be limited? Because that is his superpower, being able to create plays on the run, throw outside the pocket. It's worth noting, I mentioned Minnesota's pass rush. Green Bay has only allowed 5 sacks, tied for 8th fewest this year. So even without Love, we've actually seen a dynamic Packers offense. Malik Willis leading the charge without Love. They have the most big plays in the NFL, Bill Jones, 17. And then flipping to the defensive side there for Green Bay, 9 takeaways in 3 games. So, you know, that's pretty good. Actually, half of their total from last year, and we're not even to the quarter pole. As far as who wins, I want your take, but I'll give you mine first. I'm going with Love and the Packers, Bill Jones. It's going to be a nice, crisp 63 degrees at kickoff, Lambeau Field, football weather. But I'll take Green Bay. Obviously, if Love doesn't play, that could change things, but I like the Pack.
Yep. If Love plays, I'm taking the Packers to win that game. So actually, the road teams have more wins than home teams so far in this NFL season.
Very interesting. And I know there are a lot of underdogs have won the last few weeks as well. So,
well, you know what that is. That's what we call September football, right?
That's true.
Yeah,
you're right.
September football.
Lack of preseason and got teams just trying for continuity and consistency and trying to piece it together. And now hopefully things will get better as we approach October. How about a little pressures on Mr. Jones? I know you're eyeing up a quarterback. Which one is it?
It would be the quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
That would be one Trevor Lawrence. Do you think he's feeling a little bit of pressure?
I think so.
Signed a rather large deal in the offseason, did he not?
Well, he was tied for the highest paid player in NFL history before Dak Prescott jumped him.
Yes, exactly right. Before Dak Prescott became the best player in the league, right?
That's how it works. Best player equals most money.
That's right. And he's 0-3, and I don't know if you saw his matchup last week against the Buffalo Bills, was it?
Didn't go well.
No, it was like 47-10 or something.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Ugly.
I would say, and then the aforementioned Danielle Hunter and the Houston Texans with Will Anderson as well as one of the edge rushers, despite losing to the Vikings last week. You know they're going to be smarting. They do. We'll see if they get Joe Mixon back. That'll help them a lot. He didn't practice Wednesday, Thursday, but today apparently he was on the field. So we'll see if he actually plays or not. But they can bring a pass rush in Houston. And Jacksonville, I must say that ever since they made the uh, unbelievable decision to bench Luke Fortner, the Jags are 0-3. How's that gone for them?
Clearly, all the Luke's fault. You know, if Luke was in there, they'd probably be
3
3-0.
and 0 right now.
Yeah, for sure.
So I mean,
Interesting to note that Coach Doug Peterson hasn't actually thought of that as being the problem.
well,
Maybe you should have
that's
switched the centers. That would
that's
fix
why
everything.
they're 0-3 right now. So I'm thinking that Houston is going to once again um, get back on track. They'll be 3-1 after this week, and poor Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville will fall to 0-4 until they figure out the error of their ways and insert Luke Fortner back in the lineup.
Yeah, I think so. And Doug Peterson's got to be worried about his job at 0-4.
So you're saying that instead of pressures on Trevor Lawrence, pressures on Doug Peterson.
I think so. I think both, honestly. Unfortunately for the Jags, they've already given Trevor the money, so there's not much of like getting out of that for at least a couple of years. So they're kind of stuck with him. But yeah, I think Doug Peterson's probably a little concerned about his job right now.
So who do you have pressure on this week?
Big shocker. I'm honing in on a quarterback myself. He's the QB of the Falcons. It's Kirk Cousins this week. Atlanta hosting New Orleans in an important NFC South matchup. When you look at Kirk's numbers, he hasn't been terrible. 4 touchdowns, 3 picks, 89 passer rating. And while those numbers got to get better, the numbers that must get better, Bill Jones, they've got to improve the most. It's 1-2. That's Atlanta's record. That's got to get better. In a year that everyone picked the Dirty Birds to win the division, being under 500 is unacceptable. And you have to think owner Arthur Blank feels the same. You don't spend $180 million on a quarterback to watch him perform poorly and lose games. Oh, except the Jags did. But the areas that Kirk is struggling, third down conversions, just 22%, fourth worst in the league. Big plays, they're bottom 5 with just 7. And that just shouldn't be the case when you have the offensive skill players they have in Atlanta. Bijan Robinson's been balling. Drake London, he's looked good at times this year. Darnell Mooney, Kyle Pitts, we know Tyler Algier. No way this offense should be 20th in the league in yards. And then, oh yeah, by the way, there's a rookie first rounder, Michael Penix, waiting in the wings. He played so well in camp. Raheem Morris and the coaching staff shut him down after just 5 possessions in the preseason opener. They'd seen enough. He didn't play in the preseason after that. He hasn't played since. So that's why everyone was like, this is an odd move by the Falcons to pick Penix at number 8 this year, because unless Kirk was balling out, there were going to be some calls for his job, and those calls would turn to screams of a new quarterback there in Atlanta. So we'll see what happens, but Kirk Cousins needs to get it together, because falling to 1-3, probably not a good thing long-term for his quarterback status there in Atlanta.
Yeah, especially since it is against a division opponent, and New Orleans would be 3-1 coming out of that. And of course,
Big rivalry there. Big rivalry there, Atlanta, New
and of
Orleans.
course, Tampa Bay has an easy game this week with Philly, and so they'll be 3-1. And then what? Why are you laughing?
See, that's a 2. The Eagles are favored on the road in that game, Bill
Yes,
Jones.
they are. Well, good. I think those are very. We picked a couple of them that there indeed should be pressure on both those quarterbacks.
I agree. You want to do our capper to our podcast, the way our kicker, using the old school news term we used to use back there at CBS. Our kicker here, we call it "Who You Got," Bill Jones. And before we get into this week, we got to wrap up our last time we did this on Who You Got.
Now, you were too busy last week with Bill Belichick to even have a podcast. And so we took a week off because of Bill Belichick. He didn't allow you to do your job.
Yeah, ironic, don't you think? So yes, Who You Got? It's how we're going to end all of our podcasts for the regular season. like I said, let's recap it. Mr. Jones, Mr. Jones, I asked you who would have more rushing yards in their week 2 game, Jonathan Taylor or Josh Jacobs. Do you remember who you answered?
Josh Jacobs.
No, you did not. You said Jonathan Taylor, and that was incorrect. Now, JT did have 103 yards. Pretty good job. But Jacobs went for 151. So no points for you. And you asked me which kicker would have a longer field goal, Brandon Aubrey or Blake Groupie. I went with Aubrey, and ding, 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 I nailed it. He kicked from 52 yards. He made one while Groupie's long, and the game was 26. So we are officially tied 1-1 this season, Mr. Jones. How do you feel about that?
Okay, so I won the first week. You won the second week.
That is correct. All right, now for week 4. We skipped a week. My question for you comes from the quarterback duo in the Bengals and Panthers matchup. Very intriguing. It's an Andy Dalton revenge game after throwing for 319 yards in his first start of the year. So, Mr. Jones, who has more passing yards on Sunday, Joe Burrow or the Red Rifle?
Well, I think this is easy.
Really?
How many did Joe Burrow throw for last week in a loss?
I don't know. How many?
It's like 375. He was Dak-like.
Oh, stud.
Uh-huh. I've got the official numbers here in my regular season big green notebook. Let me look that up and see exactly how many he had.
324.
324. There you go. And the previous week he had 258. Oh, we don't count week 1. And he had a little right wrist injury going as well.
Sure.
Well, we don't. That's right. Nobody threw for over 200 yards in week 1.
That's true. Well, not 200, but very few threw.
It was close. It was close to everybody being under 200 in week 1. But no, it's Joe Burrow. I mean, there's no doubt. You gave me a layup this week, Joe Burrow.
Andy Dalton, 9 seasons in Cincinnati. You don't think he wants to stick it to the Bengals, Bill Jones?
Where's this game being played?
Well, I think it's in the great city of Charlotte, North Carolina.
And, I wonder what's going on weather-wise there with the hurricane coming through there. And
I'm looking at it now. It says 70 degrees and cloudy.
Okay.
On Sunday for that
game. I will go with Burrow. I'll go with Burrow there. Okay. Carolina can't possibly 2 straight weeks do what. Boy, and what kind of indictment is that of the number 1 pick in the draft if Andy Dalton 2 straight weeks? You know, I remember Andy Dalton 19 years ago playing in a state championship game in Texas. That's how old Andy Dalton is. Playing for Katy High School at Texas Stadium. Texas Stadium, Young Cody, is where the Cowboys used to play. They imploded it about 15 years ago.
I attended multiple games at Texas Stadium while we were working together at CBS 11.
All right, who you got? Who you got?
I need you to ask me the question.
Well, I like the fact that you had the revenge game. Okay. You had Andy Dalton against his former team, Cincinnati. Yep. And I've got a revenge game too. I've got Kliff Kingsbury against his former team, the Arizona Cardinals. How about that? Washington goes to Glendale, Arizona for the Kliff Kingsbury Bowl. And so who you got? Jaden Daniels, the number 2 pick in this year's draft? Or Kyler Murray, the number 1 pick of the, 2019 draft. And I don't want just passing yardage factored in. Give me yards, passing yards and rushing yards. And by the way, just to give you an idea, on the season, Jaden Daniels, if I can read my writing here, is at 664 passing yards. Kyler Murray's at 635. Rushing, it's 171 for Daniels, 161 for Murray, which brings the total yards 835 for Daniels, 796 for Murray. They both have accounted for 5 touchdowns through 3 games. Who you got, Jaden Daniels or Kyler Murray?
Well, let me start here, Bill Jones. I actually had all those numbers written out because when you give me the question beforehand, like you're supposed to, I can actually do my own research. It's actually really nice. So it's Jaden Daniels, 278 yards per game. Kyler Murray, 265 yards per game. Fairly close. Daniels with a slight edge. But I'm taking, and you know I love Jaden Daniels, was my pick for Rookie of the Year. I've loved him since he got into the league. But in this game, I'm going with Kyler Murray, and I think it has more to do with Washington's defense. Listen to this, Bill Jones. Commanders' defense has allowed 9 touchdown passes, most in the league, 0 interceptions through 3 weeks, and that's a combined passer rating of 127.6 from Baker Mayfield, Danny Dimes, and Joe Burrow. So I think Kyler is going to have a big week. And that's not to say that Jaden Daniels might not outduel him in the desert, but I still think Kyler is going to have a big game. So give me Kyler on more scrimmage yards, please.
You know why I like that question too? Not only because it's the Kliff Kingsbury Bowl, but it's because of the 2 primary wide receivers for both those players. You got a couple of Buckeyes, Marvin Harrison and Terry McLaurin. And so it was like you're choosing, forget the quarterbacks, you're choosing between 2 sons there, 2 favorite sons from Ohio State.
That's true. I love Terry. I love Marv. Marv is one of my favorite Buckeyes of all time. Obviously, he's going to become a great pro. But yeah, I can't wait to watch because that's going to be a fun game. Those 2 quarterbacks running around, making plays with their feet and through the air. They are 2 of the best passing plus running quarterbacks in the league. Most guys are obviously really good at one or the other, or neither in some guys' case, but those 2 guys are elite at both. And so, yeah, I can't wait to watch that one.
And sadly, it's a game that hardly anybody's going to see.
Correct.
Because it's a 3:00 game on Fox. CBS has the late game, the national game, which is Kansas City and the Chargers at 3:25 on CBS this week. And so it's buried in a hole where nobody, unless you're at a sports bar or got you probably are able to watch any game you want to watch because of your status with what are you wearing there? What's that? NFL Plus.
NFL Plus. By the way, also 4:05 on Fox, Patriots at 49ers. So the 49ers are on at the same time. We know that's a bigger draw, especially out there on the West Coast.
No, maybe the Patriots are a bigger draw.
Well, I'm saying Patriots on the West Coast.
Right.
I'm sorry, 49ers on the West Coast, Patriots on the East Coast. Yes. Yeah. We'll have to go back and watch the tape on that one, Bill Jones.
That's right. We will. We'll watch it on NFL Plus is what we will do.
This is just one big promo for the NFL
right.
and NFL Plus.
So, okay, as we close it out, I need to find out from you, did you see Babe Laufenberg at the Cowboys-Giants game? And do you have a Bill Belichick story you can pass along on this late Friday night edition of Jonesing for Football? JFF After Dark.
JFF After Dark. I like that. We might change the name of this podcast going forward. Did I see Babe? Yes, I did. Was he on the opposite side of the field? Yes, he was. Did I talk to him? Unfortunately not. I was near the Cowboys tunnel on the Giants sideline. He was on the Cowboys sideline, shaking hands and chatting with all the insiders, the Joneses, and there was a bunch of like big time people over there. Plus I was honestly running around trying to work. And so unfortunately we weren't able to talk, but we did text, and Babe and I will see each other for Cowboys at Eagles. We're going to make sure that that happens for sure when he comes back to town. A Bill Belichick story. I don't have one specific, but here's my philosophy with Bill. I am 4 weeks in to the show. It's becoming a pretty good TV show. Check it out. It's called Coach. It's on Underdog Fantasy. You'll like it, I promise. This is how I work. Bill says, hey, can we do X? Can we do Y? I say, Yes. And then I leave his office and figure out how to get it done. Whatever it is, I make it happen. And as a great friend once told me, this was you, Bill Jones. One of the things I've remembered about always being a producer, figure out how to say, yes, things can happen, why things can happen, not why things can't happen. That's the difference between a good producer and an average producer. Some people say why things can happen. Others look at why things can't happen. Thank you for that. And that's my philosophy.
Did you pass those words of wisdom on to Bill Belichick?
I will. Once we get probably midway through the season, I'll bring that quote up and attribute you, of course.
Well, I'm just happy for now that I was able to do the Mike McCarthy show today at the Star in Frisco.
Long day for you, Bill Jones. But it's football season. Long day for me, long day for everybody these days.
All right, and the Buckeyes on Saturday are going to roll through Sparty, right?
That's the plan, yeah.
Home game?
I think they're 28-point favorites, Bill Jones. So, just another win. We'll probably cover. I mean, we got a lot of studs. I don't know if you've noticed our running backs, plus our wide receivers. I mean, we're loaded.
Well, hopefully there's some Cowboys scouts that are in attendance.
Interesting, Bill Jones. Now, I looked this up. This is actually a question I'm going to ask Bill Belichick. Why didn't you guys draft more Buckeyes? I am going to ask him about that because I went back in the Patriots draft history. Not a lot of Ohio State guys. Obviously, Vrabel was in the mix there, but not a lot of Buckeyes. I was going to ask him, what was up with that? Was that thought about, or just how it happened to play out?
And by the way, my Sooners are on the road at Auburn tomorrow. It's a 2:30 game on ABC Central Time. And the Sooners have been installed as 1.5-point favorites. I would...
According to what line? I'm looking at Auburn -1.
Oh, I'm sorry. Auburn is a 1.5-point favorite. That changed from earlier in the week. OU amazingly was a favorite earlier in the week. But I would take the under. 44.5. I would take the under.
Okay.
Although we do have our next national championship winning quarterback now, Michael Hawkins, who took over at halftime of the Tennessee game. And so
didn't you say the last quarterback was your next national championship quarterback?
I don't recall saying that.
By the way, tickets at Jordan Hare, $17. So you should just fly over there, Bill Jones, and watch it yourself.
All right. And you got Alabama, Georgia tomorrow night, too.
That's going to be fun. I can't wait to watch that one. And that's a dual TVs type situation. I'm actually going to an Ohio State bar to watch the Buckeyes, but it's at the same time as Georgia and Alabama. So I think there's going to be like all the TVs Ohio State Sparty except for one. You got to have one on that number 2 versus number 4 matchup.
And by the way, the number 1 ranked Longhorns are hosting Mississippi State in their first SEC game. And then 2 weeks from tomorrow, it's the Red River rivalry, Oklahoma and Texas at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. All right. I think we did it on our first ever Friday night edition of Jonesing for Football.
This was fun. Yeah, we're past midnight here on the East Coast, Bill Jones. JFF After Dark.
All right.
Trending on social.
I'm going to immediately post this on YouTube, and you're going to immediately, like in the morning, post it wherever you can find podcasts, right?
That's the plan. Not immediately, but it'll be hopefully up there by noon or so. That's my plan.
Okay, that does it. And how about we do it again next week?
I'm in. I'm all in, Bill Jones.
All right, with more Bill Belichick stories from Coach, which is located where again?
Underdog Fantasy. Just search Underdog Fantasy. It's on YouTube. Yeah, just throw any of that into YouTube or in the Google machine. It'll pop right out.
I'll go subscribe now. Yeah. All right. Thanks for joining us here for week 4 edition of Jonesing
for Football. Call me, babe.